Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to What is Fabrizio Inking? Today I'm inking Horace H. Hoover. First, let me put some music. And let's see. So, if you're new to me or the channel, my name is Fabrizio Aiello. I have a comic book called Horace H. Hoover, sort of like a cult detective mystery adventure kind of deal. And currently this is issue 4. So I'm going to be inking issue 4. Probably no spoilers on this page, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. But I figured, why not stream the whole comic being inked? So I'm just going to get right into it. John from John's Longbox, how's it going? Thanks for popping in. Marcus Killigrew, how's it going? I saw that video of your collection, John, and it's amazing. I mean, jealousy isn't quite the word I would use because it's beyond. It's like it's the most amazing collection I've ever seen. I can't even imagine having something like that. Very cool to see, though. And this ink already has way too much, or this brush has too much ink on it, so. I am insane, so. No, you were smart. I never had any collection that complete, for sure, of anything. But man, do I wish I did. For me, it always came down to like, okay, I've amassed something, whether it was books or comics or tools or whatever, and then I had to move, and it just became really difficult to move with stuff. And there were actually a few times where I regret it to this day that I actually threw away some books. It like got down to the wire. We had limited space in a truck, and it was like, okay, I guess I'm just gonna throw away books. I think about it, and it pains me to this day. But man, I wish I'd held on to absolutely everything. You know, it's funny. I remember, and I'm sure somebody else will remember, there was it was a TV show. It wasn't like the Twilight Zone, but it was something like Amazing Mysteries or something like that. And there was an episode where this kid collected a bunch of stuff like comics and baseball cards and, you know, all of this kind of things. And his parents basically yelled at him. But he refused to give up these collections, and he held on to them. And then it kind of fast forwarded when he was old. And he had a car full of all of this stuff, comics and, like I said, baseball cards, things worth money. And then, you know, when he was old, basically he realized he was sitting on a ton of money. And I remember watching that episode thinking, I'm like, wow, I should do that, because it makes sense, just hanging on to certain things. If you can hang on to them. But I didn't. Don't mind me, I'm just dropping things. Marcus, I had 40 long box collection. Jeez. I don't have anywhere near that. Yeah. I think I had, man, I traded in my long boxes for short boxes, but I think maybe, I don't know, 17 long boxes or something like that. That was it though. That is nothing. But yeah, since then I traded all the long boxes in for short boxes because, like I said, every time I had to move, it was tough with those long boxes. Especially asking people to help move. I was still pretty young a lot of those times. So my brothers would come over and they'd be like, dude, I'm not moving your books one more time. I'm like, well, I don't know what to tell you. It's not totes filled with sweaters. That's for sure. DC Miller, hey, how's it going? I think that was the Mark Hamill Amazing Source. Was it? I haven't seen it since I was a kid. I wanted to go find it. I could be misremembering it, but it was something like that. I need a short box for the indie comics I backed. Oh, nice. Yeah, it's funny. I know John said that he does his like alphabetically or whatever. And I do, but this is kind of odd. Like indie books are a little different for me. They go in different spots. Sometimes, depending on how independent, I guess we'll say. So last time I had experimented using a micron for all of my straight edges. After I finished that page, I decided to not do that again. At least for not for these stories, the Horace H. Hoover stories. There's just something a little too static, a little too lifeless. So I will be inking like I have for everything else with a brush. Shh, DC, don't tell John that I ink with my pinky and thumbs. Wait, what? Past Master Dan, hey, how's it going? Thanks for joining. Yeah, streaming on weekdays maybe is a little better. Sundays, I picked Sundays originally just because nobody else really did like Sunday afternoon at 3. But I'm always, it's like my nap time every week. I don't actually nap, but it always feels like, yeah, you just sit on the couch and watch something or just doodle or something instead of getting up and setting up my mic and all that jazz. So this is page, what page is this? 10, 11, maybe? So I am moving forward with the comic, despite having some other projects pop up and kind of sidetrack me, but I'm trying to divvy up my time, so at least I'm making some progress on this. I don't know if there's anything else have I read anything or... Yeah, I don't know. Can't think of anything recently. Still making my way slowly through that G.I. Joe omnibus, which is more, I don't want to say it's homework, but it's kind of homework in a way. One of the projects that I want to do after this Horace H. Hoover is, I don't want to say it's G.I. Joe-like, but it's military-ish, but still sort of adventure. So I just wanted to see a classic Marvel approach. And I had only read like a handful of G.I. Joe when I was growing up. This is something I never had a chance to read. Three Rivers Comic-Con is coming up, I think the weekend, not this weekend, the weekend after. I'm looking forward to it, but I'm not actually going to have a table. So it's actually going to be nice because I'll be able to go through and buy comics instead of trying to like run as fast as I can to like each vendor. I can just take my time, go through some boxes. Yeah, the thing about straight lines, I know this is really in the weeds for comics, but I thought that having a technical pen in the background with brushwork on top would, I don't know, it would pop it forward a little bit. It would, like, in a good way, it would differentiate between the two types of lines, all of that kind of stuff. But I did not really succeed. So I would rather kind of have very organic lines with a brush than having no organic line in the background. Unexpected you'd be doing a project like that. Should be cool. Yeah, I got an idea maybe a year ago, and it was one of those things where you put it in the back of your head because you're working on other stuff and you don't want it to take over. And then one day you're just sitting there in traffic. Well, for me, I commute, and it's a long commute. That's where a lot of my ideas happen. But I just got a couple of scenes in my head, a couple of characters, and it was just enough to really, I'm like, okay, this has to be the next project, because I just started getting really excited about it. And I'll be drawing a lot of different stuff, which is something that I really feel like I need to do. Thanks, DC. Yeah, I'm excited about the book that you're doing. I can't wait to see it. I just read the script last night or the night before. It's fun. I can't wait to see that in your style. You drive for your commute or take a train? I drive. I did take a train for like 8 years. And then we moved, and that was not possible. But man, I have to admit, taking the train was awesome. The train was coming from a nice part of town, so you didn't really have a lot of the riffraff that you'll find on public transportation. So I got so much reading done on that train. It was actually pleasant. And granted, I would rather be home at that time, but if you have to be commuting, being able to sit and read and not have to worry about somebody getting on the train and start and stuff, man, that was nice. But now I drive, and it's a chunk for sure. So this is one of those scenes where it's like it's pivotal, where they discover something, they figure something out. So it's, even though there's not a lot of quote unquote action, I think it'll be a kind of a cool scene because we see something that we haven't seen before, like an interaction between the characters. I wanted to make sure that as time goes on, that Slurp and Max just aren't sort of like background characters. Like, I want them actively involved in figuring stuff out and like being real characters. I always think of, like, I won't name names, but some old Marvel books where, characters were just pointless. There's a lot of Avengers where characters were just to fill out the team. I think it's probably insane for me to draw this small with a brush. I think most people, I would assume almost everybody would use a pen at this scale. I'm just so worried about the line quality changing that I at least have to try it with a brush, hopefully. John went to my first neighborhood barbecue yesterday. That's awesome. Yes, I use a pen for backgrounds. Interesting. I suck at it. I've failed at that. I might try it again for something else, but for Horse, it didn't seem to work for me. I've never been to a neighborhood barbecue, so I would like to hear about it. which is kind of odd. I mean, I know that I'm not like the most likable person on the planet, but my wife is, so there's just no excuse. It's pretty cool having any sort of neighborhood get together or block party, whatever. That's cool. I don't think you see that very often. I'm not crazy for backgrounds. I'd rather do space. Thank you, John. Maybe people are judging on the curve on the internet. They're like, well, we have some really terrible people on the internet. Fabrizio, compared to other people, he seems like an upstanding human being. Put up with? Okay, so this is a word to the wise, because I was not wise. I guess this goes for writing too, but mostly penciling, I would say. So it took me so long to pencil these pages that I'm really looking at so many things I need to fix. Whereas in the other issues, there wasn't that much of a space in between, so I hadn't gotten that much better at actually noticing issues. But this has been kind of difficult because it just took me too long. It's kind of like if you write a story and you wait too long to do your second draft, you're going to see a ton more mistakes than you would have if you had just done the second draft, after a couple of weeks or something. So unfortunately, I would have handled this very differently. But this is what I did, so I've just got to move forward. And then at the end of the issue, if there's something that's significantly detrimental to the storytelling or something like that, I may give myself permission to redraw it. But wow, I don't really want to, that's for sure. I prefer strong attraction from a distance. That's probably a good idea. Do you use whiteout or white paint for mistakes? So I rarely use whiteout. It's really rare because it's such a terrible fix. For me, I use paint. I swear I've tried every single whiteout possible. Gouache, paint, ink, you name it. I think what I have is called extra opaque white or something like that. But it's still terrible to use. So I really try to avoid it at all costs. But there are some times or you just got to use it. It's funny. So when I was growing up and we had to do book reports, I'm sure some people remember those. We had an old-fashioned typewriter, like, I don't know, I think the typewriter was probably from the 50s, is my guess. So you obviously had, like, if your finger missed the actual key, it would go directly in between all of the other keys. But yeah, you had that white strip to correct your mistakes. That's what I feel like using whiteout is. It's never great. You can still see it. It ends up smudging, or how about that for an old guy story? I will say this. I was pretty efficient in my book reports because there's no way I was going to type it again. And it was, if that book report was 850 pages or whatever the case was, or 850 words, it ended at 850 words. There was no easing out of the report. Sometimes stopped mid-sentence. I wish that was a joke, but it's actually not. Isn't there a sheet of some kind of whiteout you could rub over a line? I've never heard of anything like that. John, I have a story about an old typewriter. I will have to hear it. Maybe we can discuss it during the next Postentious. Hopefully it involves like a pipe and a mystery. I was on a stream, this was quite some time ago, and I did a sketch card of Max, and people in the chat are like, oh, he should smoke a cigar, I'm like, yeah, but I don't want to make him smoke a cigar. Not that I have anything against cigars, it's just like, once your character's kind of set in your head, it's a little weird to add stuff like that unless it makes sense in the story. I tried to use a Japanese white ink brush, but didn't really work either. I'm using whiteout pen at this time. Yeah, I actually think the whiteout aspect of inking is by far the hardest. And whenever I see original pages of people that use whiteout and then they ink over it and it looks great, I'm like, I don't know how you did that. I don't know what you used. It must have been something magic from the 80s or 70s, because I swear there's nothing good enough to do that now for the public eye. Oh, interesting. It's funny because, man, did I hate that typewriter, as you can imagine. Everybody, well, some people had word processors by then, but not many. But people had more up-to-date typewriters, that's for sure. Anyway. Thin layer of cellulose that was coated white. A white ink. Yeah. I wonder if I found a solution for the white whiteout fix, if I would be a little more experimental or just a little more loose with things. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, to be honest. It's like having Control Z at your disposal. That just makes you less deliberate in your lines. Yeah, so I will say that since it took me quite a bit longer to pencil this to get to the inks, and now it's just makes it a little harder seeing all the all the things you would like to correct. I think in the future, to solve that, amongst other things, drawing quicker, is I might draw a page, ink it, draw a page, ink it, draw a page, and ink it. See how that works. I don't know if anybody cares. Why are you telling us this? That's like the equivalent of me telling you what, today I had a piece of toast for lunch. I had a soda. I was playing D&D this weekend with some friends of mine, and this was kind of interesting. I'm sure people will have thoughts, especially you, John. I kind of told them I don't have any time really to finish up the campaign. I was just too much stuff going on. I was like, well, we're going to finish it in a few adventures. Can you hang out until then? I'm like, sure. I just can't be really, I don't want to say I'm not present, but I'm kind of half working, half playing. Anyway, so we get there, and he won't know I said this because there's no way he listens to this channel. We get there, and one of the people that I was playing with said that he basically took all of the written adventures and dumped them into ChatGPT, and then asked ChatGPT on some strategies on how to essentially fight our next foe. And I'm like, wow, that really, that's why you play, right? Like, figure that stuff out. And it's not just figuring stuff out, it's, did you remember that this happened in this adventure? And did you write a note about it? Yeah, in one fell swoop, it really just completely, I don't know, it just took everything that makes D&D fun out. And I totally messed that up. Okay, cool. Oh, Marcus. Oh, yeah, that's right. Marcus, you're doing the public eye. That's right. That's another cool story. I can't wait for all these to come out. Long Box Comics. Anybody out there listening, go to John's Long Box. He has a YouTube channel with a bunch of interviews, and he's working on comics, a bunch. Heroic Tales, issues 1 is done, and 2 is currently crowdfunding, so go to his channel, check it out. I should make you guys moderators so you can throw links in there. DC Miller. Yeah, I do one page at a time, even color. Otherwise, the process is too foreboding. Yeah, I definitely think that might be the way to go. And it took me a while to realize that. It's just you get into a groove doing something, and you don't want to stop. So that's why I was like, oh, I'm penciling and things are going really well. I'll stick to that until I'm done, but definitely gonna change how I work on that. Marcus, sometimes I do that, and sometimes I pencil all the pages first. Yeah, I guess it depends how long the story is. This was 38 pages long, and there's some pages in here that were just crazy to do. So it was just a little extreme for me. I lay the page out, then light box it onto Bristol, then ink it. Often I'm sick of the page by the time I'm done. Yes, that I understand. I think we all get that. That's why I make up my own stories. For D&D, yeah. Well, it was a hell of a practice for you. Now you have tons of stories and characters and all ready to be told in comic format. Oh, man. Oops. That is not correct eye placement, but that's okay. I am actually working on issue 5 at the same time. I've never done that before either. I have the thumbnails for issue 5 done. I'll probably do several passes of the thumbnails just to make sure I have some dynamic layouts and got the pacing done. I saw that Peter David died, which is a bummer. I was always a big fan of his. And his book on doing a graphic novel, it was one of my favorites. It was, I think I've talked about it before. I can't think of the name of it. Anyway, it's Peter David. I don't know how to write a graphic novel, how to write comics. I can't remember what it was, but it's very practical, like approachable. Tips, tricks, structure to write a novel, graphic novel. And it was it was nice because, you know, if you read the Alan Moore, I mean, it's not really a book, it's like an essay, right, on writing. It's good, but it still feels like a little abstract. But the Peter David stuff, I don't know. I really felt like, okay, I kind of understand, how you can sort of crank out interesting, short stories so quickly. I was trying to think of what Peter David stuff I had read outside of the comic stuff. I could have swore, I could be totally wrong about this. Did he do Star Trek books? Because this was a long time ago. It's got to be 20 years ago or something. But there was some Star Trek books that I had read. I could have swore he also wrote those. They were good. They were funny. And I'm not a huge Star Trek fan either, but they were good. Now, I don't know if they were good for Star Trek fans or not. I don't know if it was one of those deals. Cool. Yeah, like I said, that was, I don't know, 20, 25 years ago or something. It's painful whenever I'm talking about reading a book or something like that. And then I think, oh, yeah, I read that 35 years ago. Awesome. And I will say this, some people have a better memory with stuff like that. Somebody was talking about the Brothers Karamazov the other day, and I'm like, oh, it's a great book. And I thought, I'm like, okay, I read that like, I don't know, 35 years ago or whatever, something like that. And I was struggling to remember a lot of the book. I don't know if that's normal or not. I don't know if it's me getting old. Yes, he wrote M Mazda Q squared. Okay, cool. Yeah, those are super fun. I don't know, like, for me, I know a lot of other people too, there has to be at least like the hint of humor in a story. And it doesn't have to be goofy, stupid, like Marvel humor. In fact, I hate that. A funny situation, just a funny comment, just something. If I don't get that at all, I don't know. I just kind of leave with a weird, like, sensation. Not sensation, but it just doesn't feel quite authentic. And I don't mean realistic, I mean authentic. Like, was this written by a person, a robot? Was this written by a person without any sense of humor? Because I find that to be the case. It's like whenever you're watching something and the quote-unquote hero is unlikable, and I just can't help but think, I'm like, well, that's because people writing are unlikable. Wow, it's been 45 minutes. Alrighty. So I'm hitting the high spots. And by high spot, I just mean probably the most important parts of the page. For a few reasons. One, they're the most fun parts. The other is, if I mess these up, then I'll have to redo it. And I would rather know now than do an entire page, mess up like a tiny piece of it, but it's very, very important, and then have to start over. So That's how I usually approach it. Some people start with faces first, which I get. For Horus, obviously that's not the same for him, but I do need to make sure Max and Slurp and any other characters. So I think I'm going to redraw part of his hand. I'm not going to do it on stream, but it's not quite right. So I'll just pencil over that. I just pulled out Bitter Root. If anybody's familiar with that. Came out a while ago. Again, I'm terrible with dates, so if I say a date, I'm sure it'll be wrong. But anyway, Bitter Root with something green. What the heck is his name? Samson? Blanking on it, but came out a while ago, and I love the artwork. Really do. It's actually some of the artwork that I look to as, I don't want to say inspiration, but it has really nice dynamic brushwork. I have yet to make my way through it, though. I don't know what it is about the storytelling or what, but I like the art so much that I actually bought I bought an original page a while back. Speaking of which, I just saw that Jason Sean Alexander was selling some artwork. There's a bunch of stuff. His stuff might be a little too gritty for some people, but I've always liked it. I mean, it's perfect for like horror. So I might see what he has to offer. Alrighty. A few more minutes. I actually still have a bunch of Horace H. Hoover like pinups that I've done that I never got around to coloring or anything like that. So I would like to get those out just because I did them a while ago. I let them sit. They expire. Drawings definitely have an expiration date. the next project that I do in between the Horace H. Hoover stuff is definitely going to challenge certain ways that I draw. So one of the reasons I want to do the military type story is it's just going to force me to draw different stuff. I don't know if this is true or not, but I remember Frank Miller or somebody mentioning that he did Sin City because he always had problems drawing women in cars, and that would force him to do that. I don't know if that's true or not. But I am thinking in those terms. Just make my life a little harder. But when you're done, you have a whole other sort of skill set under your belt. Alrighty, I'm getting a little too loose with some of these lines. So I think now is a good time to stop. Well, I got a lot of people watching. Thanks, everybody. The pensive Horace face it's difficult because he's got a giant hose, but it's still one of my favorite things to do. Whenever he's making this face, he's either thinking or saying out loud, curious. Alrighty, I think that is definitely good. Pisces Rising Press. Hey, how's it going? Thanks for joining. I appreciate it. Thank you. This is sort of the first go round of the page. So I kind of just do, I don't know, like I said, like some of the hardest stuff. Because if I mess that up, then I'll do another printout blue line of it. So this is just phase one. This will probably take another 2 hours, I think, total. So something like 3 hours a page is what I'm currently at. But I appreciate it, everybody. In case you didn't know, I have a comic book, Horace H. Hoover. 3 issues currently available on HoraceHoover.com. It is a occult mystery set in the 1920s, 30s. Supernatural stuff. A little funny, a little weird, a little scary, weird. I don't know. All right. Well, thanks, everybody. I appreciate it, and I will talk to you later. Bye.